You've got the drive, the ambition, the skills. So why isn't your bank account reflecting it? Here's what I discovered after studying hundreds of high achievers who broke through their income ceiling. It wasn't about working harder or finding better strategies. The real barrier was something invisible, operating at the identity level, keeping them trapped in financial mediocrity despite their best efforts. Today, I'm going to show you the exact mental rewiring process that transformed their relationship with money forever. Most people think their financial struggles come from external factors, but there's an invisible force operating inside your mind that acts like a thermostat for your wealth. This force maintains your income within a specific range, no matter how hard you work or how many opportunities come your way. Your subconscious mind operates through what psychologists call identity homeostasis, a mechanism that keeps your financial reality aligned with who you believe you are at the deepest level. Here's the shocking truth. Your brain actively sabotages opportunities for greater wealth when they threaten your current identity structure. Your subconscious doesn't distinguish between good change and bad change. It only recognizes familiar versus unfamiliar, and anything unfamiliar triggers the threat detection system. When your income starts approaching levels that feel foreign to your identity programming, your brain interprets this as psychological danger and activates protective mechanisms to bring you back to familiar financial territory. I've witnessed this phenomenon repeatedly among high achievers. Sarah, a marketing executive, unconsciously turned down 3 promotions over 2 years because the salary increases felt overwhelming. Mark, a talented consultant, consistently underpriced his services despite market demand, because charging premium rates felt like he was pretending to be someone else. Jennifer received a substantial inheritance, but found herself making impulsive purchases that quickly depleted the funds, because maintaining that wealth level felt uncomfortable and foreign. Neuroscience research reveals that childhood programming creates specific neural pathways that automatically trigger self-sabotage when income approaches unfamiliar levels. The neural circuits formed during your formative years establish financial comfort zones that your brain defends throughout your adult life. These pathways fire automatically below conscious awareness, creating thoughts and behaviors that reset your financial reality back to familiar patterns. The disconnect between conscious desires and unconscious identity structures explains why external strategies often fail. You consciously want wealth, but your unconscious identity rejects abundance because it conflicts with embedded beliefs about who you are and what you deserve. Your identity programming includes specific financial boundaries that your brain enforces through subtle self-sabotage behaviors, procrastination on important financial decisions, and unconscious resistance to wealth-building opportunities. This identity thermostat operates through a sophisticated mechanism that monitors your financial progress and triggers corrective actions when you exceed your programmed limits. It influences everything from how you negotiate salaries to how you invest money to how you respond to business opportunities. The mechanism works so smoothly that most people never recognize its operation, attributing their financial limitations to external circumstances rather than internal programming. Your current bank account is not a reflection of your worth or capability, but simply a mirror of your identity programming. The numbers in your account represent the mathematical expression of your subconscious beliefs about money, success, and what you deserve. Until you address the identity programming that created those numbers, external strategies will continue producing the same familiar results. But here's what gets even more interesting about how this identity programming actually formed in the first place. There are 2 completely different operating systems running in people's minds when it comes to money, and most people don't even realize which one they're using. These systems create entirely different neural pathways and behavioral patterns that determine your financial outcomes. The scarcity identity operates from limitation, fear, and protective thinking, while the wealth identity processes information through abundance, opportunity, and strategic expansion. The uncomfortable truth is that most ambitious professionals are unknowingly operating from a scarcity identity despite their surface-level success and wealth goals. They've learned to speak the language of abundance while their subconscious mind continues running scarcity programming. This creates internal conflict that manifests as financial inconsistency, self-sabotage, and persistent anxiety about money despite external achievements. Consider identical situations processed through each identity system. During salary negotiations, scarcity identity thinks, I should be grateful for what I have. They might replace me if I ask for too much, or I don't want to seem greedy. The wealth identity processes the same situation differently. I'm creating value that deserves compensation, negotiations are standard business practice, and my skills command market rates. These thought patterns create completely different negotiation strategies and outcomes. Investment decisions reveal even starker differences. Scarcity identity focuses on loss prevention. What if I lose this money? I can't afford to take risks, or I should stick with what's safe. Wealth identity evaluates opportunity. How can I maximize returns? What's the risk-reward calculation? And how does this fit my portfolio strategy? The brain chemistry supporting these thought patterns differs significantly, with scarcity identity triggering stress hormones that impair decision-making, while wealth identity activates regions associated with strategic thinking and pattern recognition. Scarcity identity creates a constant state of financial anxiety and defensive thinking. Every financial decision becomes a potential threat to survival, triggering fight-or-flight responses that cloud judgment. This identity structure views money as a finite resource that must be hoarded and protected. Wealth identity operates from abundance and strategic thinking, seeing money as a tool for creating value and expanding opportunities. Financial decisions become calculated moves in a larger wealth-building strategy rather than desperate attempts to maintain security. External strategies like budgeting and investing fail when applied through a scarcity identity framework, because the identity keeps sabotaging the results. The scarcity mind interprets wealth-building activities as threats to its protective mission, creating unconscious resistance that undermines consistent execution. Investment portfolios get abandoned during market volatility, business opportunities get rejected due to manufactured fears, and income increases trigger spending behaviors that reset financial progress. Switching identities requires a complete neural pathway disruption, not just positive thinking or affirmations. The transformation involves systematically dismantling old thought patterns, while simultaneously building new neural circuits that support wealth creation. This process creates temporary instability as the brain transitions between identity systems. Wealth identity isn't about having more money, but about fundamentally changing how you process financial information and opportunities. Now that you understand the two operating systems, let me show you the exact process for making the switch. The transformation from scarcity to wealth identity doesn't happen through motivation or willpower, but through a systematic process of neural pathway disruption that most people never learn. This wealth identity audit serves as a strategic method for identifying and dismantling the specific thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that maintain financial mediocrity. The process requires precision because your current identity structure didn't form randomly. It developed through years of reinforcement and must be dismantled with equal intentionality. Most people resist this process because it requires temporarily destabilizing their current identity structure, which the brain interprets as psychological danger. Your subconscious mind will generate every excuse to avoid this work because it threatens the familiar patterns that define your current financial reality. The resistance feels rational, but it's actually your identity thermostat protecting itself from disruption. The audit process begins with identifying limiting financial beliefs that operate below conscious awareness. You track your automatic thoughts about money for 7 days, writing down every reaction to financial situations without judgment. These thoughts reveal the programming that controls your financial decisions. Common patterns include, I can't afford that, rich people are greedy, or I don't deserve wealth. Next, you recognize self-sabotage patterns by examining your financial history for recurring themes. Notice when you've rejected opportunities, undervalued your work, or made impulsive financial decisions that reset your progress. The third step involves mapping the neural pathways that need rewiring. You identify the specific triggers that activate scarcity thinking and the emotions that drive self-sabotage behaviors. This creates a blueprint for targeted intervention rather than random positive thinking. Neural pathway changes typically take 90 to 180 days of consistent practice. The first month involves conscious interruption of old patterns without expecting new behaviors to feel natural. Month 2 begins integrating new responses while old patterns still fire automatically. Month 3 marks the transition point where new patterns begin dominating your default responses. Daily exercises for creating new wealth identity neural pathways include morning visualization of yourself making confident financial decisions, practicing different responses to money-related situations, and deliberately exposing yourself to wealth-building information. Simultaneously, you weaken old scarcity patterns by immediately challenging limiting thoughts and replacing protective behaviors with strategic actions. Recognition and interruption of automatic thoughts becomes crucial for sustained transformation. You learn to catch the moment when familiar financial fears begin influencing decisions, and consciously choose wealth identity responses instead. This creates new neural pathways through repetition while starving old patterns of reinforcement. The breakthrough occurs when the new wealth identity becomes your dominant operating system, and financial results begin shifting dramatically. Your brain stops fighting against financial success because wealth aligns with your updated identity programming. True wealth accumulation becomes effortless once the identity transformation is complete because internal resistance disappears. The choice is now in your hands to begin this identity transformation process. Your financial breakthrough isn't waiting for you to learn more strategies or work harder, but for you to become the person who naturally attracts and maintains wealth. The gap between your current reality and your potential isn't about information or effort. It's about identity transformation. Right now, identify one specific limiting belief about money that you've been carrying for years. Write it down. This belief has been operating your financial thermostat without your conscious awareness. Every day you delay this internal transformation is another day you remain trapped in financial patterns that don't match your true potential. Your wealth identity is waiting.